One question I get a lot is about mandatory disclosures. Okay.
So mandatory disclosures are something that everybody is required to involve themselves in. It's in the rules of procedure, and it is just that, mandatory. It is not optional. And there are some nuances that can be had if we need to do some creative lawyering, but for the most part, it's mandatory disclosure. And what it is, it's where there's a series or a list of things that you are required to disclose 45 days. Both parties are under the same timeline and obligation, regardless of whether you're the petitioner or the respondent. 45 days after the respondent was served with the petition. Okay. We regularly have to do motions to compel.
Always.
We have a lot of remedies for that, but it's where you guys disclose your finances. You don't file them with the court. You file a certificate of service and you provide those documents to the other party so that you properly disclose all of the financial information between the parties.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it. I'm always just like, think of it as your financial buildup, right?
Well, it's automatic discovery so that you don't have to be charged extra money, really, for us to request it, because it's obvious that you need to disclose it.
So obviously, obviously, this is a question, obviously I know the answer.
Right.
But do both parties have to submit the exact same documents?
Yeah. So unless it truly isn't in your control and you don't have access to it, you can say that your spouse has it, right? Or is the only one who has the login, or if it's just in their name. Of course, we can say that, but you should acknowledge that it exists. And a lot of where we get that acknowledgement is on the financial affidavit, which is super important.
So important. So why is that so important?
So the financial affidavit is like your summary evidence. I think that's the best way to put it.
Such a great way to put it.
Isn't it? I think it helps conceptualize, at least for attorneys, why summary evidence should be used, because we already automate its use. And what your summary evidence is it's like a statement of your income broken down monthly, right? Which means maybe you have to average it over the year. And it's a monthly average of your expenses. So even if you purchase something one time a year, in theory, you would divide it by 12 and put it on there as an expense. I like to explain it to people like if you did the envelope method of budgeting.
Yes, it's like a budget.
It is a budget, right? If you did the envelope method of budgeting and you were like, this is what I need to budget the whole year for clothing. So if that's $100 because you spend $1,200 in clothing one time a year, then that's the answer. So, a lot of times people are like, well, I don't have repairs. Well, but you had repairs twice a year.
Same with, I've seen it with gifts. Like, I don't really buy gifts. I'm like, well, what about Christmas?
Yeah. What about birthdays?
Yeah. You don't buy Christmas gifts for the kids or, family members, things like that. So like, that's why sometimes you'll see on a financial affidavit, it'll be like $20 in gifts each month or $60 of gifts in each month. It's obviously going to be estimated. Sometimes you can even put future expenses.
Right. Or yeah.
Like expected, estimated.
Or maybe if you don't know exactly what your water bill is, because it changes, my suggestion, the best one to do is to take the prior 12 months and divide it by 12. But if you can't do that, that's not practical. You can still put estimated there. Yeah. These are estimated. It's not perfect. The only way to get your budget perfectly perfect would be to hire an accountant, a forensic accountant, and have them review all of your expenses and bank accounts and do it for you. But it's unnecessary to incur that expense. It's a few $1,000s.
It is a few $1,000s. I feel like that is a strategic question that I probably was going to go into with you. That's kind of like, what do you do if you think that your partner's hiding assets from you? What if you are the spouse that doesn't really know much about the finances, but you think he's not disclosing everything?
I mean, I think that you could, the best way to start is with a forensic accountant. There isn't a forensic investigator. That professional does exist. And I think that it's probably, going to have a lot of the ways where this can be done is by going through their expenses and just seeing what doesn't match up.
I agree.
Does that make sense? Yeah. So a lot of times a forensic accountant can do that. That does require some expert analysis.
It does. Yeah. It is a lot of statements. It is a lot of.
It is. Also, if we know it's wrong or you review it and they didn't disclose their Chase account, tell us. We can do emotional compel.
Absolutely. We can even do a request to produce.
If you think they're truly hiding something and it's like not disclosed and we don't have evidence of it, then at that point we could either subpoena if you know the place directly, or we get that forensic accountant to really dig
that was my
through.
next question. If you have the person being like, no, I don't have this house, but then you see it on, the property appraiser's website, which has happened, sometimes you just got to request to produce it and confront them with it. Like, hey,
exactly.
The best approach I always do is I just go to with the opposing counsel first, see what they say.
Well,
right?
and we
Kind
are
of fake
required to
peace
do
for our
that.
client.
Right. And it would make sense if they were like, oh, darn, actually, I forgot to move it over to the folder or whatever. Oh, my client didn't tell me.
Yeah.
Which can happen.
Very much.
So when people forget, right? Oh, I did forget I had a Best Buy credit card because nobody goes to Best Buy anymore.
I know.
My Circuit City credit card.
I know. Circuit City.
My Blockbuster credit card.
I forgot about Circuit City. Okay, so I feel like this process can be very overwhelming, right? I think one of the main questions that I get is like, this is very overwhelming for me. I'm going through an emotional time. Like, can you help me get these together?
So obviously, I have made this procedure very tidy and very easy to consume in a step-by-step way. And I go step by step. And rarely, I'm not saying never, but rarely are my clients the ones not in compliance with their discovery because of how we make it manageable. I love to say something like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? Yeah. So we break it down into these bite-sized chunks and slowly walk you through it. So you're not just throwing everything and we're like, figure it out, get it to us.
I will say it's a complaint that I've heard from other, clients that come there. Like, it's just so overwhelming, right? This is an emotional time.
I know.
So when you break it down, it seems way less overwhelming. Plus, shout out to our staff. We have the most amazing staff. And I'm not just saying that. Like, they will pick up the phone. They will help you every step of the way.
Yep.
If you have a question or don't understand something, we're here to help you. And we'll really make it, less overwhelming as we can for you.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm going to ask you a few.
Okay.
What do you think are the most important documents required in mandatory disclosure?
Obviously your financial affidavit.
Right.
That is most important, right? You can't really move. You're going to be, most of the time, you're going to be required to go to a process called mediation, which we'll talk about later, right?
Yeah.
So to me, you can't properly go to mediation without that.
Yeah.
Right. So, because not only does going into the financial affidavit was that it tells you if there's a surplus or a deficit, which is super important for things like alimony, child support,
and also
income.
Hopefully they're listing all the payments that they have to creditors.
Absolutely.
And if the payments they have to creditors don't match up on their liabilities list, I think that's where we can really figure out some stuff. That's one of the easiest ways to figure this out is you're listing certain assets and liabilities and maybe not their expenses, or certain expenses and not listing it as a liability. So that is one of probably the most important. I would agree. Are retirement accounts required to be disclosed?
Absolutely. I was just about to say.
What about their retirement accounts?
Absolutely. People love to think that, if I don't disclose it, they're not going to bring it up.
What about if it is an inheritance? Do they have to disclose it?
No, they do not. Well, I believe you do have to disclose it, but is it I was moving into a different answer.
Yeah.
It's technically considered non-marital.
It's non-marital.
As long as it wasn't commingled.
Right.
So I think that you do have to disclose it, and sometimes you do have to disclose some properties or stuff that you own prior to the marriage, but you're going to list it as non-marital. There's going to be a checkbox and things that will make sure to say that it's non-marital. But you do.
So,
same with settlements, right?
Are there any assets that
That's right.
Are there any assets that you don't have to disclose?
No.
Yeah, just the ones that don't exist.
Yeah, no. People have to be like, do I have to disclose this? Yep.
I'm worried about my ex knowing everything about my finances. Is that normal? I get that question. I'm worried about them. I don't want them to know all my business.
I mean,
there are very few instances where we can redact or black out.
Very few. I've even had on my bar exam question was they didn't want to disclose it for right of privacy reasons. I feel like you kind of what I would say is that, right, these are going to have to be disclosed. You're required to do it just as much as you're going to see his, they're going to see yours. Um, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's only limited to a certain period of time. It's not like he's going to see your future ones. It's not like he's going to see, things that you're doing, I guess, once you're finally divorced. But yeah, you do have to show everything. I mean, there's no
Right.
way out of it.
Right.
It's part of your divorce.
Or every cheating spouse who spent too much money on their affair would
Oh,
just claim privacy.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's what I was
Yeah.
going to say. That's why bank statements are so important. You can find out so much about somebody and
So
what they're
much.
hiding, what they need. You can't be like, oh, I don't want to disclose mine, but I do want yours.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't
Exactly.
work like that.
And is mediation, you mentioned mediation, is it required before going to court?
I'm going to say yes. I know in Orange County it is 100% required. Some
Right.
counties it's a little different, but we always require it.
We do it just as a precursor to court because it's easier. And sometimes a judge will say, well, before I rule on this, let
For
me
sure.
send you to court. And that's happened to me in a hearing where I'm like, what? You don't have this standing order. Orange County has the standing order. Seminole County doesn't, but some judges have their own requirements.
Oh, yeah,
So
sure.
it can be judge specific, it can be county specific. It isn't a statute right now, but it
Do you
is
think they'll ever put that in there?
I actually think it tends to have a risk of being violative of your right to access the courts.
Good point.
I actually think I think there are circumstances where it could be that.
It's kind of it's putting like a barrier on it.
It does put a barrier.
Also, I feel like with mediation, I say this a lot to clients too, is 86 to 92% of cases settle in mediation. And you can settle to some things in mediation, but not all things.
Right.
Which happens all the time. Sometimes you just don't finish. You don't understand. I was in an 8.5-hour mediation and we only did the parenting plan. We didn't even remotely get close to the finances, but it was going so well that we just scheduled that continued mediation right there. It also saves you so much fees in the sense of like, if you're doing negotiations back and forth in email, holy moly, like the amount of fees goes up like crazy compared to if you're just there at a set time, set day, specific time, you can just get so much more done. And you're in the right headspace to settle, I think.
Right.
If it's a good deal.
Yeah, exactly. So, how long does mediation usually take?
Oh, I'm just going to preface
It needs a
this.
day.
It definitely a day.
It needs a day.
I think that sometimes you can do it in a half day. I did a half day mediation where we did do a parenting plan.
But you got to be real motivated to settle.
They were very motivated to settle, and there were pre-talks of a kind of settled parenting plan. But I always say minimum 8 hours. Attorney Morse, what is the longest mediation you've done?
I think it was 4 days, 5 days. 5 days? Was it 5 days? And it didn't settle in mediation. I had to continue and do it myself, and I really had to bully opposing counsel, and we settled on the eve of a hearing.
I'll never forget the day that I was here. You were in mediation. I think it starts at 9 a.m. and
until midnight. That was one day. We went back in more days.
I will never forget this, and it didn't settle.
I was furious. I actually got really rude with opposing counsel.
I mean, as you should. I feel like they were jerking you around.
I do too.
But they made it seem like they were going to settle because you don't ever let anyone jerk you around. But he waited to the last second to do it to you.
And it wasn't even that he was saying no. He was just making these edits that were so petulant. He was just like, I just need another hour. Yep. We agree, but we just need to review this language. And then he wanted to remove language that was very stupid. Like, I've been open and honest in entering into this agreement and intend to be bound by it. When he wanted to remove that, I was like, and that was at like midnight. I was like, what do you mean? I flew off the handle in that moment.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I was like, call it off. And they're like, no, we're almost done. I was like, no, I'm logging out. And I logged out and the mediator called me back and was like, where are you? I'm like, it's midnight. I'm going to bed. I wanted to be in bed 3 hours ago.
I know.
Anyway.
But the preference of that is you will do anything for your clients.
Yeah, that was nuts. That was unfair to everybody.
It was.
Including my own children.
Yes.
So that's who that was unfair to. And I don't think I should have to be treated that way.
I have a have a good question on this. Do you think that judges like it when you settle at mediation?
Yeah, they want you to settle.
They do.
They do. They encourage it highly.
Yeah.
I'll
I mean,
put it that
we
way.
were just in a trial yesterday,
Mhm,
and the judge, they settled on the courthouse steps basically.
mhm.
And the judge said that was basically kind of like, thank you for settling. So that way a third party person who doesn't know you is making a
Yeah,
decision.
they get to know you in one day, and they don't know you.
They
They don't know
don't.
your life. They don't know your needs.
Also, you don't
So
know what's going on in their headspace during that day, right?
or how they might feel about
Yeah.
something, right? They may have a particularly intense feeling about something. And again, this has happened, and I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing, but what if I had a case where my opposing party, um, it seemed very clear by the timeline that she used my client, the husband, for papers to become an American citizen. And if you asked him today, he would say no, but it was clear by the timeline. So I made sure to elicit that timeline
Yep.
and put it in the reasoning. And I think that pissed off the judge. And I think that swayed him towards something that he had a lot of judicial discretion on. He could have found it, either way. If he thought it was one thing or he thought it was another, I think that he had some very reasonable judicial discretion to have made a decision specific to this, right? This specific, probably $250,000
Wow.
my client's benefit decision. And he decided in favor of my client, I think because it made him feel some type of way that it seemed as though my client, and again, it's a no fault divorce state. So the fact that she did this maybe isn't at fault, but it was like really skating a line on whether this asset could be considered non marital or marital because of how close to the marriage it was purchased. But her, like, lack of contribution and the timeline just matching up so perfectly with her getting her green card, um, and the judge didn't say this. I just think it. So the judge did not base his decision on this. I have no evidence of that. It's my suspicion. But I think that might have upset him that this person seemed like they were being used. And again, my client would have stayed with her.
Yeah.
He asked that before we went to mediation.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
and, she moved to another state a year and a half before the divorce, right? And then came back for a period of time immediately before her citizenship, and then somehow got in a fight 2 weeks later after
Yeah.
her citizenship was stamped, 2 weeks later,
And
and
left.
went back to the other state, right?
I think that one thing I would like to preference is that, how, or at least that I'm finding the more that, I'm doing way more mediations and being trained under you and stuff is like, I think that we become very prepared to our mediations
Mhm.
compared to some other opposing counsels. Like,
Mhm.
for example, I have a mediation tomorrow
Uh-huh.
and I already have my equitable distribution worksheet prepared. I have a proposed parenting plan drafted. I have a proposed mediated settlement agreement, and I have a alimony proposal ready. Like I am ready to go.
And our
full force
clients are prepared with this
as well.
information
We
and
go,
knowledgeable.
yeah, we go through with them. We have a prep meeting that's a whole hour.
Yeah.
We go through it. We figure out, okay, what do you want? What do we want to offer? We let them know if we think that's reasonable. Is it not
Mhm.
reasonable? So that
Mhm.
way, when mediation starts, we're not wasting your time and fees. We are ready to go with a proposal,
Right.
or prepared for like, okay, this is where we're at compared to where, I've seen where people go to mediation, they just start there. That could take 3-4 hours sometimes.
Or I've had plenty of mediations where the person on the other side is like, I'm not emotionally ready to make this
Oh,
decision. I'm like, what? Because you don't get into mediation right
I was
away.
going to
This
say.
process doesn't move relatively that fast.
Mhm.
As far as your timeline go, you can expect to go to mediation 3-4 months
I was going to
after
say 3-4 months, maybe.
that's expected. That's soon. That's getting it done reasonably because we have to try to get this mandatory disclosure in. So, and again, I think that's what really sets our firm apart when preparing our clients for mediation
sure.
is that we have these real conversations. This is what's accomplishable. Also, we remind them, hey, think about what would actually get us to an agreement because the process is confidential.
Absolutely. Also, I think like I said, I already know I said it was just, it kind of saves times, attorney's fees. And then, like you were saying, it mentally prepares you. Like, what are we going to speak about? This is what it's going to be about. This is the emotions that are going to come up when we talk about these things. And, you know, it can be emotional, right? So if you ever need to take a second, we obviously let you do that, right? Also, what I also love that Attorney Morse taught me is like, we don't let the opposing party like bully us. Like, if we think they're wasting our time, you'll
I shut
cut
it
it
down.
off.
I shut it
We
down
shut
real
it off.
early.
Like, that's it. And I've had to use it a few times, and magically, we get an agreement.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you're just like, you know what?
You're
Forget it.
wasting my
Forget it.
time.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
once they realize, like, oh, okay, wait, because they
Right.
want to see how far along they can take us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So, you know, if you had to, I have a good question, right? That I think people need to hear. If you had to give somebody a piece of advice that was just starting the divorce process now, or just thinking about it now, what would you say to them?
oof, that could be a really deep question. There's a lot of things
Yeah.
that you could think. I would let them know that this is going to be a long process. I think that it's going to be
Good
a-
results aren't quick.
Good results are not quick, but you're going to have people beside you. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. You're going to learn a lot about your spouse, and just be prepared to not only kind of put your hard hat on, but to to also emotionally take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Right. This is what I would say to a friend, right? You know, it's going to be very emotionally taxing, and I hope that you are taking care of yourself emotionally. I also hope that you are trying to think with your emotions out of it just a little bit, which can be very hard.
Mhm.
Kind of start organizing yourself.
Or allow us to give you that advice. Allow us
Yes.
to give you the non-emotional advice.
Yes. I think we had to say that yesterday.
Yeah. And I think if someone was just starting their divorce process, what I would want to tell them to start being prepared for is forgiveness. Forgive yourself that you're going through this. Forgive yourself for whatever mistakes you might have made, and be kind to yourself about what this is going to look like, including that it's not going to be a perfect result, because it never is. In order to achieve settlement, you're going to give some. If you give it to the judge, it's unpredictable about exactly what will happen or what they feel about certain things. So, and you don't know what kind of preconceived opinions this judge is going to come to court with. So I think that, again, taking the time to do that. Fortunately, with our firm, we do have a strategy session.
Absolutely.
I'll kind of close on that. I don't usually do this in the podcast, but I think it's worthwhile. Um, if you already went to mediation and that didn't work, we can help. We can help you prepare for settlement if you want to make sure we offer one, or use our firm and our reputation for that. That's what happened in this last hearing.
For sure.
He
That's
did not
exactly.
want to go against me in court. And again, he was actually very respectful. This attorney was very
So
respectful. And I wanna report that very positive experience.
Yeah.
And you know, we can help you at any stage of the case, of course, even after a final judgment. If you guys need changes or enforcement and stuff like that, we really do handle all of that area. And you know, if you want to schedule a consultation with us, you can call our office at 407-900-7451. You can speak to one of us and we will help you develop a strategy. It takes just about an hour, and we'll help you get through this next process and the way that your case will, you know, look the best on you.
Absolutely. And I do want to preference this, because this was brought up yesterday by one of our clients, is that who you see like on these podcasts is really who we are.
Yeah.
Like, this is really who we are. Attorney Morse, including myself, we're very passionate about what we do. And Attorney Morse is just such a badass.
Thanks.
Right. So we really will do everything we can, like above and beyond anything possible.
Yeah, if it's possible and available for us, I don't care how creative I have to get.
So Attorney Morse is like the most creative person ever. She comes up with stuff, and I'm like, she did it yesterday at the trial. She like did something, and I was like,
Oh my
genius.
God. Yeah, it was great.
So,
It was great.
So definitely give us a call and we'll help you out.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. You have it's been real on this episode of Legal Morse of Action, and we will talk to you next time.